Hey guys, Renee and Mike are here today, and we want to come to you today to tell you 5 of the biggest mistakes you make when pressing with heat transfer vinyl.
Yeah, guys, right? So I know a lot of times we're in a rush or we're throwing things around, or even sometimes if we're experienced pros, we might run into a few of these things while we're heat pressing. And so we just want to make a quick video kind of helping you out with those steps or with those tips. So, first thing we're going to talk about is placement. So, like I know a lot of you guys already know about the 3 finger trick or where to start your designs, but let's run through it really quick. So, one thing we can talk about on this particular garment is that it looks like we have a left chest size design that's right in the middle of the shirt.
Right.
So we know we don't want to do that. So the first tip we're going to have is use the appropriate design size for its placement. So, you wouldn't want to have this right in the middle of the shirt because it doesn't take up enough space, right?
Right. It's pretty small for the size shirt, so that's the first thing you want to do.
Right. Second thing we wanted to talk about is actually where you want to place the design. Sometimes when you're doing mock-ups for clients, you might run into the issue where they're telling you that it's too close to the top of the shirt or they don't like the placement of the design on the mock-up. And that's always, a kind of a bummer, right? Because you're going back and forth working with them. But a lot of the time what we will say is that the mock-up is a 2D flat image.
Right.
It's not a body. It's not a human body. And so I always tell people that people aren't flat, and so we don't want to have the design placement on the stomach or any kind of unflattering area other than the upper chest. So one thing that we can do is use a technique. You can either use a ruler or you can just use your finger. So the rule of thumb is kind of using 3 fingers. That's why I don't do it as much because my fingers obviously are small, so that my fingers aren't even 2 inches basically.
Right.
But what you want to shoot for is about 2.5 to 3 inches down from the collar on any item. So kind of show you here. So it looks like we went a little high on this one, so I'd have put this at right about 2.5 2 3 inches. Now if we were going to be doing a left chest, we're going to be putting it over to the side. So a good rule that we always use here in the shop is that we'll use 4 down 4 over, which basically means we will come down 1 2 3 4 inches and then go over 1 2 3 4 inches. And right at this mark is where we would have the center of our design. Now, obviously, this is a U shirt, it's a little bit smaller, so you can compensate on some of those things. But if we're using a typical adult shirt, the 4 in, 4 over is going to be pretty good for you.
All right, guys. So the other thing that we want to talk about is making sure that your design is straight on the shirt. So you don't want your design to be crooked or off center, anything like that. So on most shirts, you actually can see a center fold line down the shirt. But in the event that you can't, one thing you can do, just a little trick, you can fold the shirt in half and just really quickly press it down the center. And then that will help you to see where is the center of the shirt. So just really quick. And then that gives you a little press line down the center to kind of where you can see where to place your design at.
Super helpful there. And let's see, guys. So after that, I do want to show you another quick little tip in terms of pressing your items that you always want to make sure that your platen is free from any deviation in the shirt. So for example, collars are the biggest culprits on t-shirts. And so what you don't want to do is have your press set up so that the raised portion of the collar is still on the press. That'll obviously give you uneven pressure on any design that you're working on. And then it'll also typically create a press line or a box right underneath the collar or either right underneath your design. And so a good rule would be to mark down the design where you want it to go and then make sure that that collar or anything else is hanging off. You want to work with a completely flat surface as much as you can, so no wrinkles in the shirt or anything like that, no collars, no buttons or anything like that. Still on the platen to mess up the pressure that you're getting on the t-shirt. So we're gonna drop it down just like that. And that'll also bring us to our second point, which is pre-pressing.
Yes.
Very important
Yes,
step.
yes. So guys, it's really important to pre-press your shirt to get the wrinkles out before you press your HTV or your transfer on your shirt. So the reason I say that is, of course, the shirts will come to you hopefully folded neatly, but there may be creases in there from where the shirt was on the shelf or what have you. And if there is a crease in the shirt and you press on top of it, you can risk ruining the whole shirt if the transfer doesn't press correctly because of the crease in the shirt.
Yeah.
So always pre-press, give it a quick 10-second press, get the wrinkles out, and you're good to go.
Yeah, folks. So we'll demonstrate that here on. Well, actually, give me a hand and give me a news guard up here. So, like Mom was saying, a lot of times you'll get shirts that are wrinkled right out of the box, or sometimes you get these really big guys like right here. And what we found out is that these wrinkles won't exactly press out underneath your design. So if you have fabric that's overlapped, kind of like this, where it's uneven or anything like that, you can't press directly over this little crease because your heat transfer vinyl or your plastisol ink is going to ride over this crease, and anytime you try and stretch it back out, make the shirt flat again, your design is still going to be on top of the two parts where the crease was. So if it's with vinyl, you'll basically have a little portion or a couple centimeters where the vinyl isn't actually attached to the shirt. It was on this side and on this side of the crease, and then you ironed it, you laid it flat, whatever you want to do, and now that vinyl isn't adhered anywhere on the shirt right through here. Same thing with your ink. It'll just be a broken area where the wrinkle was. So you will always go ahead and pre-press your shirt. I don't change temperature or anything like that. So whatever you're gonna be pressing at is certainly fine to go ahead and leave on there. Now, one thing that you are going to notice is typically the shirt may experience discoloration right where you pressed it. So sometimes the bottom of the shirt that's hanging off of the platen will be a little bit lighter than the part that you actually pressed. Now that will go away. That isn't something that you're necessarily going to have to work with. As moisture returns to the shirt after being pressed, the bottom will return to its natural color. It's a little bit different than a pressed box, which typically doesn't really come out. So if you have pressing pillows or anything like that up underneath your garments, or even wrinkles on the other side of the shirt, on the bottom side of the shirt, that can create a pressed box, which doesn't really come out and is pretty unsightly when you're turning around to give those garments to your clients. So certainly something that you're going to want to watch out for. I'll give you a few more tips on that later in the video. So now we have our shirts pre-pressed out. It is free of moisture. It's also free of any wrinkles or anything like that. So we are ready to press our decals. So we are going to be working with heat transfer vinyl today. We're going to start by finding our center, just like how Mom showed you. We're going to look at that center line. We're going to find 3 inches down, make a little mark on the shirts. Now, what I like to do is fold my design in half. I'm gonna make a small little indentation right here at the top, just so I know where that middle part is. I'm gonna line that middle line up on my vinyl with the middle line of my shirts at the 3-inch mark. And I'm gonna press it down. Now, obviously, if you're familiar with heat presses, what we're gonna do now is slide this drawer in, close the top, let it do its thing for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then our design will be adhered. But the very next step that we're gonna talk about is hot peel versus cold peel. So we're gonna let you see why it's important to make a mental note of the material that you're using to determine if it's a hot peel, warm peel, cold peel, because you don't want to ruin your design once you've done all this work to get the vinyl on there. All right, so I'm gonna pull my collar off of my shirt. Give it about 10 seconds, or 15 in this case. Now, most heat transfer vinyl is going to be a hot to warm peel. It's typically designed for you to be able to peel it off immediately. Same thing with like your rhinestones. However, there are design options that require a warm or even a cold peel. So let's see if we can get this to cooperate a bit. So as you can see, I can pull my carrier sheet back and the vinyl is still stuck to my shirts. Now, I'm trying to think of maybe like a metallic, maybe some of your premium vinyls may require that you remove the shirt from the press, just put it somewhere else. You know, put it on the table, put it on the cart, anywhere outside of underneath this hot iron to give it a few seconds to cool. If I didn't, when I removed this carrier sheet, then my heat transfer vinyl could come up, anything. You know, I could ruin the design, stuff like that. So very, very important to keep in mind if we are using a warm or a cold peel on a particular product. The next thing I'm gonna do is a plastisol ink transfer. That is a hot peel, but I'm gonna leave it on the press a little bit just so you see what happens when we don't follow those instructions. I'm gonna go ahead and do it back. We'll do another video later in terms of these heat transfer plastisol ink transfers. We can show you how to order them, where to get them from, things like that. These were great for us in terms of being able to do one color projects really quickly. So when you're growing your business and you want to scale, maybe you don't do screen printing in-house, screen printed transfers can be a fantastic option for you because you're able to get that screen press feel, but really quickly adhere to the shirt because it is heat press. So we'll go ahead here, find our back. Typically on back should go about 4.5 to 5 inches down from the collar. I'm gonna just toss this on there for you guys. I'm gonna close this. And then when I take this off, I'm just gonna let it sit for a little bit. And then we can see what happens when you try and remove the carrier sheet there. Ready. So I'll move this shirt right back over here. In the meantime, we'll talk about some other premium design options, like our puff transfer, for example. So here's another product. It has a little bit of a raised texture to it, as you can see. Another item that is going to be very particular when it comes to time, temperature, and pressure. Your puff vinyls and puff transfers can sink, they can wrinkle up if they aren't taken care of. Next item we have, again, something similar, a little mixed media. We have glitter, vinyl, and rhinestones here on this particular transfer. Something else that would be another warm to cold peel product. Just want to show you that. So obviously we have a ton of different design options, but that also means a ton of different time, temperature, and pressure procedures for you as well. So folks, we're back over here with this plastisol ink transfer, which is typically a hot peel product. It's pretty cool to the touch now, so I'm gonna kind of pull away. And it's a little rough. If you can see what's happening here, if we get in here, a lot of this paper is still stuck on the shirt. It's giving me a lot of resistance when I try and peel it off. Pretty much ruined, right guys? So this is what we don't want. So sometimes if you're working with a product like rhinestones, you might want to leave it on there a little bit, leave your carrier sheet on a little bit longer, let it cool. Things like your specialty vinyls, you can kind of leave to the side. DTF is another product that typically is a warm to cool peel. Now, of course, we know that there are hot peel transfers out there, but if you are unsure about the particular type of product that you have, it's always best to let it cool down first, adhere to the shirt, and then remove that carrier sheet. And we're talking DTF. As you can see here, that does not work with plastisol ink transfers. So we're kind of screwed here. So if you don't do a hot peel and peel immediately, typically when the product is still on the heat press, you can ruin the design, ruin the application. So that's kind of what happens there. So very important to adhere to those instructions. Sometimes if you're working with a product like rhinestones, you might want to leave it on there a little bit, leave your carrier sheet on a little bit longer, let it cool. Things like your specialty vinyls, you can kind of leave to the side. DTF is another product that typically is a warm to cool peel. Now, of course, we know that there are hot peel transfers out there, but if you are unsure about the particular type of product that you have, it's always best to let it cool down first, adhere to the shirt, and then remove that carrier sheet. And we're talking DTF. As you can see here, that does not work with plastisol ink transfers. So we're kind of screwed here. So if you don't do a hot peel and peel immediately, typically when the product is still on the heat press, you can ruin the design, ruin the application. So that's kind of what happens there. So very important to adhere to those instructions. Right. Oh, let's see. I guess also, now that we are talking about transfers that did not adhere properly, last thing that we are going to talk about is vinyl letter remover. So, folks, I'm sure you've all seen some sort of product that looks similar to this. Ours has been through some things. Obviously, it's a little rusty and stuff like that. So this is a product you'll see a lot, and they push it a lot to beginners. They kind of act like it's like a magic product that allows you to make mistakes with vinyl and then completely remove it and reuse that garment. Unfortunately, that's a bit of a fantasy. That's not exactly how this vinyl letter remover works. This is essentially a chemical compound that eats through plastic, is what this does basically. And so if you were to apply this on top of your vinyl design, it'll slowly start to eat away at the top layer of vinyl. What this is not great at getting through is the layer of adhesive on the bottom of this heat transfer vinyl. So it's very important that if you were trying to remove vinyl all the way, what we go with is just straight up alcohol. I know what you want to call it. I think this is 90% alcohol. And what we would do is spray this to the inside of the shirt so that the alcohol touches the adhesive part first. Let it sit there for a while, maybe up to like 10 minutes, really soak in, and try to slowly peel that vinyl off from the front. Once that adhesive kind of gets eaten through, the top layer should fall off. And that's about the best that we can offer to you in terms of fixing a shirt that has a vinyl design that shouldn't be there. Vinyl letter remover, again, may take off this top layer, but you'll still have the adhesive on the bottom, and the shirt will be essentially ruined. You know, after all the scrubbing and rubbing that you're doing to try and get the vinyl off, the shirt won't be usable again. So vinyl letter remover is kind of a bit of a misnomer. But just a quick little tip, if you do have something that you need to remove, hopefully it's just a small spot, go ahead and use 90% alcohol, and hopefully that will loosen up the adhesive on the back of the shirt. So folks, we just wanted to thank you for stopping by and watching this video. Again, this was just another quick video talking about the pitfalls and missteps that you might run into when you're working with your heat press, regardless if you're using plastic ink transfers, vinyl, DTF, whatever it is. So thanks for tuning in, and stay tuned for more information from T-Mart. Thanks. Bye.